Hello. Yeah, welcome everyone to our lesson in ICT in education. So today we'll be looking at ICT integration strategies and pedagogical models. So we have actually previously looked at foundation of ICT in education and the tools themselves, the tools which we use. We have looked at different platforms, and today we are going to be looking at ICT integration strategies and pedagogical models. And the question here is, how do we actually integrate these tools effectively? And this is what actually this lesson covers, ranging from the frameworks, models, and strategies that transform technology into a powerful learning engine, and also tells about how we use it in our classrooms. So, we talk about ICT integration. We are talking about the systematic inclusion, that is the incorporation of technology into your teaching, learning, and assessment processes to improve efficiency, engagement, and outcome. Last class, we explained that whenever you're integrating or whatever technology you integrate, it has to be in line with your learning objectives. That's the objectives you have drawn up, both in your choice of ICT and in integration. So this reshapes how teachers teach and how students learn. Effective integration uses digital tools as a means to achieve educational goals and not an end themselves. And one of the things we experience when we integrate technology is an enhanced outcome. And what does an enhanced outcome mean? Whereby we have active, the students being actively engaging in lessons. We have personalized learning that meets students where they are, meaning that students can learn at their own pace, even when they are not in the same location with you. Of course, that enhances outcomes. The issue of absenteeism in physical and face-to-face classes is being taken away. We have what we call digital equity. There becomes a bridge between the digital divide by equipping learners with the 21st century skill. You see, today everyone, because of the technology influx, we begin to see the learners of today doing everything to be equipped technologically in order not to miss out from the technology show of the present time. And we have expanded access, meaning that there is a lot of information everywhere. So the point where we begin to have distance education that opens learning opportunity beyond our physical walls, where you can, even from your office, enroll for a particular course online, and even as you are working, you can also be taking those courses. So there have been an expanded access in education with the integration of technology, and have data-driven teaching. There's a place of learning analytics, and where we begin to have real-time data extractions, which informs the teacher of how to present his or her lessons and how to develop or incorporate the elements of the lessons that appeal to different learner preferences. And how we do that is through learner analytics. For example, different learning systems, as we discussed previously, have what we call the dashboards. They have tracking systems whereby the systems can learn students' behavior as to know how to present this content to them more effectively. We are going to be looking at the frameworks. One of the models we are going to look at today is the SAMR model, the SAMR model, which is developed by Ruben Dura. The SAMR model categorizes technology integration into 4 progressive levels, from simple enhancement to full transformation. The goal of this model is to move beyond substitution toward tasks that were previously inconceivable without technology. So we are not just replacing things in our classrooms, but through this model we are trying to change processes, see how we incorporate processes in order to make our teaching progressive. And the first part of the model is the last. So we are going to start from the number 4 as the first, and we will talk about substitution. What does substitution mean? Substitution talks about a point, that's the first basic point, where technology replaces traditional tools without a functional change. For example, where you have your handwritten lesson notes, you can move away from handwritten lesson notes to computer-based lesson notes. Like, instead of handwriting, you begin to type. So there are points in technology integration where what you need is outright substitution. For example, where we are bringing in digital lesson notes, where teachers can prepare their lessons online, substitution is needed. So here, technology replaces the traditional methods. And the next one is the augmentation, that is the A. So here, technology acts as a direct substitute with added functionality. We begin to see places whereby you use a word processor like Microsoft Word to spell check whatever you have typed. So bringing in that Microsoft Word here, spell checking your work. Now there is a functionality. You are not just using Microsoft Word, but you are using a function of Microsoft Word to check for spelling. Ordinarily, you cannot do that when you are using the traditional method, but not just you using the Microsoft Word, which is a type of word processor, to type, to prepare documents, but you are using a functionality provided by that particular software to actually check your work. That is where we say that technology is augmenting. You see, technology is assisting what you are actually doing. Whenever you are using technology as an added functionality, that's what augmentation stands for. Then the next one is which is modification, where technology allows significant tasks redesign. Here, what happens is we begin to see technology as a more of a collaborative tool. And for example, you can see more than one teachers can work on a particular curriculum development using the Google Docs, whereby they can access a particular document at a point in time, like in reviews, in collaborative writings, maybe peer review feedbacks, and so on. So this can be done through a platform, let's say Google Docs, where we begin to see now here technology allows is modifying a process. You see, a process either to shorten the time needed in performing that task, or to enhance performance or productivity in the way that particular task is being done. The next one is called redefinition, and that is the last, where technology enables entirely new tasks. Here you see that what technology does is to redefine. So the definition here, we are coming to a point because where students have gained digital skills, so students can be able to use technology even in their learning to produce and publish multimedia presentations on YouTube. This practically is what they are not able to do before, but because of the knowledge of technology, they can produce. So they are actually using technology to do entirely new things, and this is the point whereby we bring constructivism, where hands-on students can, based on the knowledge they have been taught, produce new things using technology. So we see students producing and publishing multimedia presentations. We can see students creating softwares, coding, and so on and so forth. So this particular model is a progressive way how technology progresses in its integration. Some of you have actually tried a lot of things on the substitution level. You have also maybe worked on where you use technology as an added functionality, that's augmentation. But I would like you in the comment section to look at these progressive levels of technology integration as a concise SAMR model, and tell me which of the levels have you actually see yourself in using technology. You can do that in the comment section. Okay, so we look at the next model, which is the TPACK framework. TPACK framework is actually another model for technology integration, which is the model or framework that guides the teacher the knowledge he needs to have to integrate technology. So this particular framework is developed by Mishra and Crowley. I think 2006. That's where the major work of this framework was being done. So it's like a kind of extension of the PCK framework by Shulman, that where the technology component is being added to the PCK component, which is the pedagogy content knowledge. So the TPACK emphasizes that effective technology integration requires the intersection of three essential knowledge domains. What are these knowledge domains? We have the technology knowledge, which is often called the TK, the pedagogy knowledge, which is often called the PK, and the content knowledge, which is also called CK. So the technology knowledge is oversees the technology proficiency, knowledge of technology tools. We have the pedagogy knowledge, where we talk about the understanding of the teaching process, and the content knowledge, which is the knowledge of your subject matter. Now these intersections forms other components, like the intersection of the technology and pedagogy forms what we call the TPK, the technology pedagogical knowledge. The intersection of the technology area here, that's this area here, forms the TCK, which is the technology content knowledge, while this area forms the PCK, which is the pedagogy content knowledge. So, and an accurate example, for example, if you have a math teacher using GeoGebra for inquiry-based geometric proof. Now the geometric proof here is the content knowledge, while the inquiry-based is talking about the method, that is the pedagogy knowledge. And when we talk about the GeoGebra is the technology which is being applied. So the understanding of this framework can help the teacher make full integration of technology in his teaching. So you must know how to choose the required technology tool for a particular process, and depending on the subject that you are teaching. So you can use TPACK to plan your instruction, and use the SAMR model to assess the depth of your technology integration. So together they form a complete design and evaluation cycle. So most of you, the already teachers, you are acquainted with what it takes to plan a lesson, like the content you have to teach. You know your subject matter. You also know the process or the kind of method you want to use to communicate that. Then why not take some time to think about what kind of technology? Are you a social studies teacher? Are you a geography teacher? What kind of technology is peculiar to that particular subject, and how can you use that to plan instruction? So you must include that in your instruction plan. And the SAMR model, you can now use it and check how far are there processes you are replacing, are there functionalities you are adding, are there areas whereby you need to modify, are there areas that needs to be redefined. So these are the things you should think about as a reflective purpose, and we'll discuss that in class. So we're looking at learning models and blended learning models. When we talk about blended learning, we are talking about the kind of instructions that learning that combines the face-to-face instruction with the online component, which offers flexibility and personalization. And we will talk about three kind of blended learning models that are widely used. We have the rotational model, where students alternate between online activities and in-person instruction on a fixed schedule, ensuring balance, exposure to both modalities. So on this rotational model, students can use the online, and it's a mixed. You can use this and also alternate it with the in-person instruction, which is the face-to-face. And depending, there are fixed time for that. It can be in a particular class. It can be done over time during a lesson period, depending on the duration of the lesson. So that's for traditional model. We have flex model. The flex model is an online instruction. The online instruction is the primary delivery method. So the teacher teaches through the online, but the teacher is also there as a coach to support tutoring and small group intervention as are needed. So you can have a class you are taking online, whereas the teacher can create office hours whereby students can come, whereby he can also coach. He can even be there in the online space to drive the discussion, support, and time after time can have. So the next one is flipped classroom. So when we talk about the flipped classroom, we are talking about the type of learning model, blended learning model, where the content is introduced before the online class. Now, in my teaching experience, I've used many of this model at different times. Where you, as a teacher, you introduce an online, there are sometimes I can decide to send a video or on to connect with the class I'm about to have. So I can send the content, send the video. So when you have introduced the content online, whether it be video, text-based, or whatever, audio, before the classroom time, so the class time is now dedicated for active learning, discussion, and problem solving with a teacher or facilitator. So just like what we are going to do with the lesson 3, you are going to have this learning video before our next class. So our next class will just be for discussion and interactions. So you see, we are also integrating the same things we are teaching. So that's how the flipped classroom works. The content is introduced online first before the class. The flipped classroom in practice. Okay, just like what I said I'm doing with this. So what happens here? The flipped classroom inverts traditional instruction. So students watch video lectures or read materials at home, then come to class to apply concepts through discussions, project collaboration, collaborative problem solving. So the teacher shifts from knowledge transmitter to learning facilitator. Many of the open learning like the open universities like Noun, Open University, Miva, many of them use this flip method. So what happens at home? You engage in pre-recorded lectures, reading of materials or interactive content at your own pace, of course. And during the class, what happens? We have workshop discussion, read practical issues, peer collaborations, hands-on project, and the teacher is there to give support for those that are struggling. And then why this works? So research has shown that flipped classroom improve student engagement, retention, and high order thinking by shifting from passive. So students are not just passive consumers, just stand listening, but sorry, by shifting passive consumption outside of class. So it's not like where you sit face to face and you're just taking in. You can also do this listening at your own pace outside, and it makes it interactive because students can engage real time by asking questions from whatever they have experienced when they are taking or watching these videos on their own. So look at online learning platform. One of the things that we have seen about online learning platform, I think I touched a little bit in my last class, is the online learning uses web-based systems to deliver instruction, supporting both synchronous, live. Like synchronous is where you're having a live lecture, live webinar, where you are discussing, having a feedback to and fro discussion with the student. And asynchronous self-paced, so asynchronous is a self-paced modality. What that means is you have recorded a video and the person can look at the video at his own pace. So online learning uses web-based systems to deliver instructions supporting both synchronous and asynchronous modalities. So choosing the right platform depends on your pedagogical goals and learner context. So have synchronous platforms such as Zoom, Google Meet, and Microsoft Teams. All these platforms have their free version. It's something that you can use. One of our practicals will be, according to your groups, you're going to have synchronous meetings to discuss your projects, and that's one of the practicals you do. And we have a synchronous platform. These are places you can host pre-recorded videos. We have the Moodle, we have the Coursera, we have the Canvas. So these courses here can be accessed anytime and anywhere, unlike the synchronous platform, which offers real-life, real-time interaction with instructors and learners. Okay, we talk about ICT-supported assessment. This is what we call e-assessment. Earlier, we knew many of these as the computer-based test, but because we are shifting online and it's electronic form, so that's why we call it electronic assessment. So the same electronic assessment is delivered through digital mediums, computer to the computer. So e-assessment uses digital tools to create, administer, and grade assessment, offering immediate feedback, data-driven instruction, and reduce administrative burden. Both formative and summative approaches are enhanced by technology. So what are the formative tools? Here I want to talk about formative. What is a formative test? I think these are tests that you carry out within the lesson. Maybe a test after a lesson, or after a lesson in a module or in a unit, and you can do that by taking real-time quizzes using Kahoot or Quiz to keep students engaged and give teacher instant insight into the understanding gaps. That's a formative. And we have summative. We have those are the tests taken at the end of the unit or module. So it comprises of what you've done, different lessons in that module. So summative tools, we'll talk about online examination, proctoring systems, that systems that are able to monitor you when you are doing an online exam, which enable secure, scalable end of unit or end of course assessment. So end of unit, end of course, as we have said before. And we have integrity tools. Integrity tools are tools that check for the originality of a particular work. They are used to assess things like projects, seminars, and so on. We have the Turnitin, which handles plagiarism detection, while learning analytic platforms like the Power BI help to track students' progress over time. So what are the challenges with some of these tools we have seen? What are the challenges to address when it comes to ICT supported assessment? We have technical issues, internet reliability, and academic integrity concerns. Because of these issues, they require thoughtful planning and institutional support to manage effectively. Think of it, you are writing a test and the internet goes down, or if you don't have a good IT support. So all these things can be the challenge of such system. So you're saying here it needs a thoughtful planning. It's not just something you just integrate and go. It needs institutional support also to be able to manage effectively. Like many of our courses that have large students, we have the CBT exams, which like the GST courses, which where they take their the MCQs kind of questions. So this is also integrated in our university. What are the challenges and best practices? So successful ICT integration requires more than just a tool. It determines systematic support, continuous learning, and inclusive design. And some common challenges: we have limited infrastructure, talk about the unreliable internet connectivity, insufficient teacher training. So teachers need to be trained often in order to meet up with the technological demands. We have resistance to change from staff and stakeholders. For example, when AI wave began, we have many people that were resistant to AI for different reasons. But you see, as a teacher, you need to be open to change, because this is where your students are. So resistance to change sometimes can make it difficult, for things to work as concerns technology. You have high maintenance and licensing costs. Many of these softwares need licensing, and of course it has a cost that comes with it. So what are the best practices to mitigate these challenges? We need continuous capacity building and professional development. Time after time, we have teacher training workshops to make sure that the teachers are up to speed. We have institutional policy alignment with ICT goals. Time after time, institutions to review their policies in line with either the country's ICT goals or even as it concerns digital education ICT goals. Collaborative peer mentoring among education. This is what I do apart from teaching in the class. We go most times to engage with our students to know how they are integrating these things, even through teaching practice and other mediums, or designing inclusive access for all learners. So these are ways you can mitigate all of the practices to indulge in order to mitigate these challenges. Okay, looking at the Nigerian context, we have the 10 Fund ICT initiative and the NUC e-learning policies. Okay, so these are some of the policies and initiatives that actively promote digital transformation in Nigeria. So we've come to the end of this lesson, and major takeaways We have looked at ICT integration and what it means. ICT integration as it enhances pedagogical innovation and educational efficiency, and we have seen the models that you can use. We'll talk about SAMR model, which guides transformation depth, how, at what level, which level, how deep you have integrated technology. I'll have TPACK that ensures that you integrate, guides you how to integrate technology in learning. We've also looked at blended learning and e-assessments, which as a way these technologies can be used alongside your teaching approaches. So down in the comment section, I want you to attempt this. What is the difference between these two frameworks and how do they complement each other in practice? So number 2, okay, let's look at blended learning in part. How do blended learning models improve student engagement and long-term retention in your context? For example, are you teaching in the higher education? Are you teaching in the primary? Or are you a researcher? Are you an administrator? What's your discipline? So these are the things you look at and tell us how blended learning model, or which of them, of the blended learning models, have you tried, and how do they improve student engagement and long-term retention? Okay, now to you personally, reflecting on your own teaching, where would your current technology use fit within the SAMR model? And so at this we come to the end. Don't forget to share these interactions in the comment section. See you in our next class. Thank you for learning with us. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Thank you.